More than one technical issue this morning. Alright, it looks like most of the stuff is working. Oops. I don't have Paul on the phone yet, though, but that'll be a little bit later this morning. We'll have Bill Moore from the Brunswick County GOP. That story about the fire in Pender County is a little nerve-wracking. I mean, I don't know if you've heard about it. Apparently, the earth is on fire, and you can't fly near there. It's all kinds of crazy right now, and you can see it from the road. It's pretty crazy. I could have sworn it was from my former roommate who almost burned down Pender County 2 years ago. That was pretty funny. I mean, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't there when the bulldozers came in and they had to plow down nearly half an acre of area, and they wrote the guy a warning. Burned down most of Pender County, and they wrote him a warning. You see, this is not how you prevent stupid from happening again, right? And as long as I'm going to get in trouble for being the morning host because I'm not the most morning-ready guy, I'm a little concerned over the behavior of the adults in the United States right now. Like, for example, what are the adults with children telling their children about what they're doing? Hey, Dad, what are you going to do today? I'm going to march around the FBI office with all of my weapons on full display because I'm upset with something I don't understand. What are you telling your children? To disrespect law enforcement? Was that the goal? You think that's helpful? I'm not entirely sure how that's supposed to go down, but, sure. Yeah, I guess that's what we're going to do. We already have a hard enough time trusting and relating or having any sort of relationship with law enforcement. This isn't helping. And now we're going to raise a whole generation of kids who grew up in the shadow of parents who are marching around the FBI office with full semi-automatic weapons, full display. I mean, it's like the tiny penis parade. If you're really upset, right, we were taught in civics, maybe it's something that's just been lost on the current generation of idiots marching around with their guns at an FBI joint. But, redress of grievances would include things like letting your congressman, right, your senator, letting your representatives know that this seems to be something untoward. However, it would also, as has been mentioned in other programs on this very network, to slow down. This is not your fight. Not at all. And I'll tell you, as my father has been, was served a warrant. Of course, it was eventually dismissed, and of course, the local paper that decided to capitalize on this buried their apology months later, right? And Dad didn't even bother suing him. He was just like, y'all are just, this is who you are. Everybody in your world should know this. This is who you are. If you're a predator, either in business or in personal relationship dynamics, that's who you are. You shouldn't hide from it. If you're proud of it, then you should embrace all of it, including any consequences, right? Because it's not, the whole fire in a crowded theater. It's not that you can't say anything or that there are things you can't say. You can say whatever you want. But if you can't pay for the consequences, I take you back to the original Beretta TV series. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. And if you don't want to set up a volatile situation, then don't be marching around the FBI office with a loaded gun. Or 5. That's just ridiculous. Most people I know that are mature, responsible gun owners have their primary tool with them. And even then, you wouldn't even know it. So this is, just like marching around or driving around in a squat truck. You're just showing off what you don't have. You're compensating and trying to be all vocal and, hey, look at me, I'm a badass. But don't ask my wife. Okay, I'm supposed to get on to the crazy news now. In which case, there's no shortage of that because we have plenty of idiots on this planet. Plenty to choose from. Here's a good example. If you don't have marketable skills, you can become a scammer, a thief, or, well, why not? Come on, load, you piece of junk. Oh, you got stuck. You got caught. You're busted. Nope, you're in the right lane. Come on. Give me my news. Man steals so he can get arrested because he can't afford to be free. How's that? This is coming out of Oddity Central. These are our people. Come on now. What is up with this? Oh, man. It sucks being in the middle of an internet battle. Apparently, nothing in my house wants to give me internet properly. So my stories freeze halfway through. Whatever, get away from me. Okay, maybe we don't do this story because this website absolutely blows. And we'll go elsewhere. Okay, but apparently the guy had become a thief so that he could go to jail to get fed because he has no marketable skills. And that seems to be consistent, certainly with those that are on the benches in front of the public library down on 3rd Street. Yeah, I don't know if any of y'all have been there, but it's a good place to recycle your garbage, I guess. I don't know. Longer making jokes. Oh my goodness. This is who we are, ladies and gentlemen. Coming out of United News Post. Shameless scoundrel uses a fake $100 bill at a boys' lemonade stand. Washington State Police were looking for the shameless scoundrel that used a counterfeit $100 bill at a child's lemonade stand. The fully grown man was caught on camera wearing sunglasses while he passed the fake banknote to Jeremy, who was 11, at his makeshift Everett concession stand earlier this summer, police said. The cheapskate then put the squeeze on the unsuspecting kid when he asked for exact change, forcing the boy to dip into his allowance to hand over $85 in legal tender. Jeremy didn't know he had gotten a lemon of a big bill until he tried to spend it at a gas station, cops said. The pathetic scam left a sour taste in the mouths of investigators while our detectives work hard to bring closure to every case. This case struck a particular chord with them, and they want to do everything they can to get justice for Jeremy and catch this counterfeiter. Cops wrote on Facebook, little Jeremy, 11 years old, did not realize the bill was fake. And, now they gotta... Yeah, this is who we are. This is the type of Americans. This and Sean Whalen. I bet it is Sean Whalen. I bet it's Sean Whalen in disguise trying to spoof someone, just screw someone else over. I mean, isn't Madoff still in prison? So it can't be him. Oh. So, the UK has lost their mind in a number of ways. Apparently, they're trying to install, I guess would be the term, a new prime minister. Well, as long as that's happening, let's just talk with Landon Meon over at Fox Business, right? Well, we're not talking to him, we're reading his post in New York Post. So, they're already whack over there, right? They're out of control. They're losing their minds. And now, ketchup and mayonnaise ice cream flavors are being offered to the Londoners. The cupboard classic mayonnaise flavor was shopped around to London customers, and some people in London are trying some rather unique, oh, that's what they're called, cupboard classics ice cream flavors as they endure the hottest summer ever. The ice cream project is made up of a number of non-traditional ice cream flavors. These flavors include several condiments or other food items typically found in a person's pantry, such as ketchup, mayonnaise, and baked beans. Seriously? So this is the ice cream project created by Anya Hindmarsh. So this is all about elevating the everyday flavors, Hannah Weirn, a retail associate at an ice cream provider, said. Oh my God, get off of me. So we've taken British store cupboard classics and turned them into ice cream. So we have flavors like Heinz baked beans, mayo, ketchup. We also have Quaker rolled oats, PG tips. I don't know what the hell that is. Of all the fun things you usually get in your store cupboard, she continued. Here's a whack statement. Customers were excited about trying the unusual ice cream flavors. We came early this morning. We've been so excited the whole day, and we had to come and try all these amazing flavors, customer Adrian Conviser said. I'm so impressed. It's such fun and great for the kids, and yeah, we're excited. Anya? No. No. Oh my God, these are just disgusting. Conviser's daughter Izzy added that there were lots of weird flavors. The ice cream project will run until August 28th, thank God. I tried mayonnaise and ketchup so far. The mayonnaise wasn't good. The ketchup is a bit better, but they're not as sweet as I would like because I've got quite a sweet tooth, customer Asylum said. Asaliha Legister. I hope I got that right. But no, it's just, but these people are weird anyway, right? Just the food, the bangers and mash, right? Anybody who comes back from England is like, thank God for McDonald's. But that's a different story. We'll pick that one up later. Come on, mouse. There we go. I found my mouse. And the mouse does work. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, that's awesome. So, yeah, in about 20 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, we'll have Bill Moore from the Brunswick County GOP joining us. That'll be fun. And until then, I'll just keep ripping through some pretty crazy stories. Like, here's another American United States citizen, one of our fine, upstanding examples of what it is to be free in America. This is what we do. This is who we are. This is awesome. Coming out of the Sacramento Bee, written by Don Sweeney. Man driving stolen excavator rips up parking lot, destroys water lines, according to the Utah police. Apparently, a man drove a stolen excavator a mile to a Salt Lake City grocery store where he proceeded to tear chunks out of the parking lot, Utah police reported. Officers were notified on noon Saturday, August 6th, that a man was randomly digging up the parking lot in an excavator, police said in a news release. I don't want this. I don't want anything to do with you. A large crowd of bystanders prevented the man from fleeing, and police took him into custody. He faces charges including theft and criminal mischief, police reported on Twitter. Along with the pavement, the rampage also damaged a water line and fiber optic lines. Officers discovered the excavator had been left running at a construction site about a mile away. The construction workers followed the stolen excavator to the grocery store parking lot. Police said it's not known why the man stole it. He's American. He's a guy. He's a stupid American guy. It's a couple of gags for you. Maybe we should look into... We don't even know the guy's name yet. But hey, fine. That's the type of Americans we are. A Florida man accused of stealing $1.3 million worth of seafood. Another wonderful American example right there. I bet he's marching around the FBI office with a loaded gun. I'm not subscribing to you. Bite me. All these news stories, and it's like, no, you have to go, no, I ain't paying for that. You can't give me the news? Oh, this one's kind of interesting. This is how stupid we've become. Smoking gun guys, love you. Drug suspect caught in act assured cops that meth is legal now. Hey, man, we're going to try gaslighting. But if you're not white and not a Republican, it's not going to work. I'll just tell you that right now. This is what Enzo Zabala Cardozo, 31, advised Florida cops who caught him, glass pipe at his lips, attempting to light up early yesterday. I'm not sure which yesterday this was, August 5th. So back on August 4th. Upon spotting police, Zabala Cardozo began walking away, but not before declaring that meth is legal now. He did not offer further details as to when lawmakers legalized use of the highly addictive stimulant. As it turns out, however, meth possession is still a crime in the free state of Florida, which has a trademark on it. I think that's funny. As such, Zabala Cardozo was busted on a felony drug possession charge and a misdemeanor count of resisting police. While pictured booked into county jail on a $21.50 bond, $2,150. At the time of his 3:50 a.m. arrest Thursday, Zabala Cardozo was free on bond in connection with his arrest in late May for possession of meth and drug paraphernalia. Oh, I see. See, he was already free on bond in connection with an arrest in late May for possession, so he's arrested again, and I bet he's thinking that because they let him out of the court, meth must be illegal now. Well, Zabala Cardozo's rap sheet includes multiple convictions for narcotics possession, as well as convictions for trespass, disorderly conduct, obstruction, and assault. One of our finest examples in American, society. But, what we should do is, now that we got this guy, and obviously his problem is just getting high, right? Just smoking meth or whatever. So giving him a purpose, giving him a reason might be helpful in stemming his criminal behavior. But, what do I know? I'm just an old white guy. Oh, wait. Now, this one is absolutely, and nobody's going to put their name on it. It's coming out of Colombia. This is pretty remarkable. Okay, I don't... Athlete loses race in Colombia after his penis came out in the middle of the run. Not a video I want to see, but an athlete lost a 400-meter race at the 2022 World Athletics U20 Championships due to a wardrobe malfunction. 18-year-old Alberto Nonino, who hails from Italy, was competing in the 400-meter of decathlon in Cali, Colombia, when the incident took place. Whoops. In an unfortunate turn of events, an athlete lost a 400-meter race due to wardrobe malfunction. Alberto started off extremely well by gaining pace against his competitors, leaving the bystanders under the impression that he might win the race with quite ease. However, after Nonino passed the middle lane, he looked uncomfortable and kept reaching down to hold his crotch a couple of times at the time. Viewers did not know what went wrong, but Nonino's pace decreased a tad bit, allowing his competitors to overtake him. The athlete take two. The athlete unfortunately finished last with a time recorded of 51.5 seconds. As per Lad Bible, sports journalist David Sanchez de Castro reported that Alberto Nonino's penis kept falling out of his shorts. The incident did not allow him to run properly during the race. The 18-year-old athlete did try to tackle the issue, but nothing worked in his favor at the moment. There's video online. That's all for you, not for me. As reported by the portal, Alberto Nonino took it to Instagram after the match to open up about the unfortunate incident. The 18-year-old said he was aware that the incident had created a buzz on social media, but he requested netizens to stop sending him links to blogs and posts about it. He added it was an accident. Quote, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the rumpus there's been on blogs and social media in general. I'm conscious it was obviously an accident, and I'd like to tell you I'm aware of the reaction, and you don't need to send me the links to the blogs out there. Fair enough, guy. Seriously, people, leave the man alone. Nonino said in an Instagram story, he explained that the entire situation appears to be funny for him now. However, after he finished the match, the athlete felt terrible. It is his family and friends who are helping him get over the incident. I am trying to laugh about it now, but immediately afterwards I felt terrible, and I'm thankful to my friends and family. What in the hell is wrong with you? For helping me get over what happened a few hours later, he continued. While concluding his statement, Nonino highlighted that all the articles around the incident haven't affected him due to his optimistic approach. But if it were for a more sensitive person, the result could have been devastating. A wardrobe malfunction causing him to lose a world race. That's... Man, boxers ain't doing you no good, my friend. You got to tighten up. That's why we have athletic wear, so that we don't have these problems. Poor boy. Lehigh Acres. I've never heard of this. NBC2 News. Well, Lehigh Acres man attacked with weed whacker following payment dispute. Lehigh Acres man is recovering after a confrontation with his lawn worker led to him being attacked with a weed whacker. According to the Lee County Sheriff's Office report, the victim has been using another man to cut his lawn for about 2 months. However, last week the man arrived and mowed the lawn without notifying the homeowner he would be doing so. On Wednesday, the man returned to the home and began banging on the door, demanding payment for the work he had done. The victim told him he didn't have the money at the time, but he would have it the following day after getting paid from his job. The worker would remain adamant he gets paid that day and retreated towards his black pickup truck. The victim would leave his home with partial payment and walk to a neighbor's home when he noticed the worker approaching him with a gas-powered weed trimmer, continuing to demand payment. The man began chasing the victim around the neighbor's car and yard, swinging the weed whacker. At one point, he would shove the weed whacker in the victim's face, causing injuries. The victim would sustain non-life-threatening wounds to his face that were determined to be superficial. The worker would flee the scene before the deputies could arrive. And that's another great example of our wonderful American citizenship right here in America right now. We could be doing better, but instead, it's not looking that way. So, if you have other funny stories or abhorrent stories of citizens that could use a little bit of embarrassment or shaming, like Sean Whalen of the Lions Not Sheep, right? This jackhole has been cutting made in China labels out of the products that he buys, puts in made in USA labels, and then sells them as if they are the best damn things made in the USA right here. And turns out $115,000 fine later from the FTC. That was not the best way to handle the situation. Ha! So with that in mind, when we come back, hopefully we will have Bill Moore from the Brunswick County GOP joining us, and we'll have some actual adult conversation because he is a much more connected and aware, intelligent, well-read, etc. I mean, what am I? I'm a tech. I put wires together. This guy actually reads and talks to people. So with that in mind, don't go nowhere. The Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. We'll be right back after these messages right here on the Big Talker Network.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. A Wilmington veteran who lost his brother in arms started a fundraiser that took him across the country, and after nearly 3 months, he's back home. The loss of Sergeant Christopher Cool was hard for those who knew him, including Perry Steed, who was on a mission to collect some of his ashes since 2012. Finances stopped him from making the trek to Minnesota. Anxiety and depression shared among veterans is their reality. Steed left in May, traveling 48 states connecting with soldiers along his journey, leading him to not only Sergeant Cool's ashes, but also Specialist David Howard's to spread at the Sicily drop point at Fort Bragg. Steed's uncle, Randy James, escorted him back home from Greensboro on Sunday. In Pender County, crews continue to battle a wildfire in the Holly Shelter Gamelands. The fire is now at 43% containment. The Juniper Road 2 fire started on August 2nd from a lightning strike and covers more than 1,200 acres. Firefighters have more than the heat to contend with. The North Carolina Forest Service says more than 30 personnel on the ground are facing several challenges. Last week, the wind shifting direction due to weather patterns was an issue, and smoke is still a concern. A temporary flight restriction is in effect, preventing all civilian aircraft from flying within 5 miles of the wildfire. And after almost 40 years of polluted water in New Hanover County, a milestone has been reached to help filter toxins out of our drinking water. The Cape Fear Public Utility Authority says it's made significant progress in its project of granular activated carbon filters at the Sweeney Water Treatment Plant in Wilmington. They started that project 2 years ago. CFPUA Executive Director Ken Waldrop says with this new technology, pollutants such as PFASs will be nearly undetectable. The new carbon filters will be tested one at a time, and CFPUA hopes to start distributing the treated water by early fall. For more on these stories, you can head on over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Turning a bit unsettled as we head towards the evening hours today, but for most of the day, expecting sunshine and clouds, with clouds gradually increasing along with the humidity values as we head towards the late evening hours. That'll be our best chance to see a few downpours in the Cape Fear region. Outside of that, we're expecting temperatures to fall down to the upper 60s and the lower 70s overnight into early Tuesday morning. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Join Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Marine Service Pro in the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh, local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker. I lied, not intentionally, but because I am just not a very good morning show host. Apparently, I had forgotten that my 8:30 guest this morning, Mr. Bill Moore, the chair of the Brunswick County GOP, will be joining us tomorrow, right here on the Big Talker, right here on the Asylum, just before his show, All Things Brunswick. Which is Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Great program. A lot of fun trying to make an awareness, letting people in the Brunswick County area know what it is that they're dealing with, what it is they're up against. And I am very excited, actually, to have a guest this morning. My friend, Look, see, I got to push buttons. I need more buttons. I don't have enough buttons in my world. Yes. Good morning.
Morning. What are you doing?
I am questioning the legitimacy of parental influence on children whose parents are currently marching around the FBI office in where is it? Arizona at the moment.
Phoenix, which, by the way, one of the hotter primaries right now, so it's a very politically charged environment out there.
Well, I'm guessing.
In fact, they just had the rally out there with Carrie Lake and Ron DeSantis and a whole bunch of other people. So, very, very charged environment in Arizona. Likely, remember that was also ground zero for a lot of the election nonsense was out in Arizona. So, very, very charged atmosphere out there anyway.
So, what do you think what's the message their children are receiving?
I've got a interview in the box that will be coming out this week on Heard Tell, where we're talking about the Second Amendment. And one of the things we got into with the Second Amendment was, at what point do people who are advocates for the Second Amendment start doing more harm than good on their social media? There is a point. And people don't want to talk about it. Well, it's my freedom. Yeah, it's your freedom, and I support your freedom. But there's also the jackass clause, where no matter how right you are about something, if you start becoming a jackass about it, nobody cares, and you start being detrimental to whatever your cause is. There is a hardcore group of Second Amendment advocates who just want to absolutely rub it in everybody's face, and they're doing more harm than good. The problem is when you start going to this level with it, you're getting into some really suspect territory. Now, I'm not saying these people have done anything wrong yet because we haven't seen them do anything criminal. You're allowed to protest.
Right.
If you're going to protest outside the FBI office, you better be real careful. And I understand you have a right to protest there, but you also need to be a full-grown adult, especially because again, what's one of our core tenets on Heard Tell? Things don't happen in a vacuum. They happen in a sequence. We just had a guy roll up on the Cincinnati FBI field office and throw shots and cause chaos and got himself offed. So you've got to be cognizant of these things. I understand you have freedoms. You also have to be a full-grown adult. Where is this quote? Hold on. I'm going to pull this quote.
That's
over the weekend.
Please.
Kevin D. Williamson wrote a piece about the guy in Cincinnati. And I think it's going to apply here, not as that they're going to be violent like the guy in Cincinnati is, but I think it applies. Hold on, I wasn't planning on doing this and I jumped on with you, so I apologize for the
not at all. I caught you by surprise.
Quality radio. Well, I got to do it now because I got to be out by 9 because I got interviews out my tail this morning. But
nice.
Kevin D. Williamson wrote this piece, and as soon as I get the Google machine to pull it up,
my Google machine,
and by the way, not that I'm super, Kevin D. Williams-y, because my one interaction with him ever was he called me illiterate. But he wrote this piece called Ricky Revolutionary, R.I.P. It's in National Review. Here's the take-home line when he goes through all of this. The United States, I'm quoting from him directly here. The United States has real problems, and the federal government has some urgent ones. The United States is not the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany. By the way, I have a great piece up from new writer Mike Gallo at ordinary-times.com. The stupidity to say that the FBI is the Stasi. And if you don't know what the Stasi is, that's the East German secret police, one of the real evil organizations that ever lived. Go read that. But anyway, back to Kevin D. Williamson. The United States is not the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany. We are not building concentration camps, and there is no civil war here except in the warped minds of a few such Ricky revolutionaries. Some of those cynic operators who would have you believe otherwise are people whose chosen profession is lying for money. This is the quote. This is the one. I tweeted this out. Some of y'all need to write this down somewhere. Probably want to post it. It is part of the duties of the citizen to liberate himself from the selfish, childish things, to sober up and act like a human being worthy of the freedom he enjoys.
Whoa.
I'm going to repeat that.
Please.
It is the part of the duty of the citizen to liberate himself from the selfish, childish things, to sober up and act like a human being worthy of the freedom he enjoys. Or you can attack the FBI field office in Cincinnati with a nail gun, a futile and stupid gesture if there ever was one, and see how that works out for you, our revolutionary comrade. Viva la revolution, you dead moron. He didn't write dead moron. I did.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean,
But so fine, you want to go kid up and carry your weapons and protest across from the FBI and talk about they're the new Nazis. Fine. You have a right to do that within certain confines of the law. But you also look like a moron. Here's a simple hint for folks. If you can tweet about it, if you can make money off it, if you can say it without no fear of reprisal whatsoever, then no, we do not have a German secret police, Gestapo, or the Stasi. Because you couldn't do any of that. You would be disappeared. If you didn't go to prison for the rest of your life, they just disappear you somewhere and your family would wonder what happened to you. So no, the FBI is not the German secret police and the Stasi. The FBI has issues, deep-rooted institutional, grained-in issues, most of them because they're a giant bureaucracy, and bureaucracy kills everything it touches. But the FBI's got issues. Part of the issues is they are politicized. But the idea that the FBI is the Gestapo, if you tweet something like the FBI is the Gestapo or the Stasi, you are historically ignorant. You don't know what you're talking about, and you come off looking foolish.
because you're just waving somebody else's flag.
No. Now, if you want to question the Mar-a-Lago search warrant, which, by the way, when everybody reacted, we've talked about this on our show for a week. Everybody reacting on Monday was reacting without knowing a blessed thing about it because nobody's seen the search warrant yet. Now we've seen the search warrant. Now we've seen the inventory. We still haven't seen the affidavit. The affidavit is much more detailed because that's what they're actually investigating into. We may not get that because this deals with classified stuff, allegedly. But we know what they took, and we know the sequence of events. We know that they visited Mar-a-Lago in June. We know that this is a multi-thing process. They did not just show up at Mar-a-Lago and kick in the... That's not what happened.
Nope.
This was a process of events. Now, you can process that process of events, to turn a phrase.
But lawyers were present.
You can decide that, but do it off the facts. Don't do it off social media. Don't do it off some idiotic idea that the FBI is the Stasi. They're not. They went and got a warrant. Now, if you want to question the process, they got that warrant, fine, but they went and got a warrant. Stasi didn't do that. Gestapo didn't do that. They went after stuff that the Trump folks knew well and good was in question because they'd already been there in June and asked about it. They'd already been asked to return it and refused to done so. And his lawyer, Christina Bobb, signed because this is required by law. She signed the inventory. They know exactly what they took. She was on the premises when it happened, despite what Trump originally tweeted. His representatives were there. They were not allowed to be there. They were there. And they did a search because they had a search warrant. That's the process. Now, you want to attack the process, fine, but calm the hell down on this Nazi nonsense. You just sound like an idiot, and you're inflaming something that doesn't need to be inflamed because it is political. No matter who's in the White House and in the AG slot, if they're going to investigate a former sitting president, that's political. Let's all be adults here. There's no way that is not political. That doesn't mean it's not justified.
Or
that
legit.
doesn't mean it is justified. But it is political. Let's all be grown adults. Okay? We all okay so far? I'm going to walk through this real slow for the folks from Logan to make sure everybody can keep up.
Or me.
That is political because you have opposing political parties. You also have somebody in the form of Donald Trump who does not care for norms and or rules and or laws and has a long, long history of bending and or breaking them. So you have a system where he's going to buck against that system no matter what, because that's just who that guy is. So even if it's justified, yes, it's a political decision to execute a search warrant on the former president of the United States. Yes, it's political. Doesn't mean it's wrong. We have to go through this process of the investigation. And by the way, you don't lose any Twitter or Facebook posts for just waiting. We know a lot more today than we knew last Monday when this happened. Just wait, because on Monday night, everybody's reacting to it. Nobody knew anything. They didn't know about the warrant. They didn't know what they were like. Nobody knew nothing. They were all reacting and outraged based on their priors and their wants, what they want to be true and what their prior provocations were for what they think is the facts. Nobody knew anything Monday night when they reacted to it. So if you're outraged, that tells me you're just outraged based on something other than the facts because you didn't have any. So now we got about a week's worth of facts. Where are you at? If you haven't adjusted a little bit from last Monday night, then you've got a you problem because we've got more information now. If you want to go through the information and pick a side, fine, but do it with some information. Don't just go off half-cocked because of social media.
Wow.
And by the way, while I'm ranting anyway, and you didn't want to talk because otherwise you wouldn't have texted me and said, come on the radio. So I'm just going to talk for a minute.
Have at it.
while we're talking about parents and children, can I cover this story we covered on Heard Tell this morning?
Pretty please,
Because this piece of superfluous stupidity boggles my mind. Hold on. Going to pull this one up, too, because, again, I was not prepped for radio this second, because I was actually prepping for interviews, so it's okay, but...
You got more tabs
So CBS
open now.
Morning News. Excuse me. CBS Morning News. This is not, Joe's blog from Topeka. All right. This is CBS's flagship morning program. They come out and they run a piece on childhood obesity. Well, that's fodder for the morning talk shows, right? Because those are a lot of moms usually. Those are a lot of family people. Talk about the kids, get good ratings. Okay, fine.
Wait, are you talking like normal kids that can climb a tree and bend and touch their toes, or are you talking really obese children?
Apparently not. But I'm just going to read the tweet that came out with the viral video, and this is the part that everybody reacted to, okay? I'm going to read it verbatim. Here you go, sit down. Today's children are 30% less aerobically fit. That means your lung function, for those of you from Logan. Than their parents were at their age, a new study found. Okay, so far so good. Then we go hard left into Lululand. Ready for this one? The study points to climate change and rising temperatures adversely affecting childhood obesity as children spend less time exercising outdoors.
Wow.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever read on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter way too much, and I was there for most of the last 6 years of nonsense where Twitter was routinely, epically, biblically, weapons-grade stupid. First of all, there is not one kid in America who asks about climate change when they decide whether or not to go outside. Now, there's two groups of people here, and we covered this on Heard Tell this morning. You need to go watch my show as soon as it gets on the Facebook page for the Big Talker, which I'm sure will happen sometime today.
Should already be
Here's the problem. Well, it wasn't your fault. I was a little late because I accidentally loaded it through YouTube instead of downloading and uploading it myself, and it's a different process and whatever. But anyway, the old people will say, they're on their electronic devices too much. That's all. They just stare. Okay, number one is that's got some truth to it, but let's slow down. They said that about radio. They said that about television. They said that about video games. They said that about MTV. They said it about the internet when the internet first came out. Then they said it about social media. Then they said about that's going to be the argument for every new technology that kids get hooked on. Okay, so let's slow down with that a little bit. Number two, and here's the point I want to make. If you're worried about childhood obesity, maybe for the last 2 years you shouldn't have told kids that if they go outside they're going to die, and rope off playgrounds and rope off public parks and hiking trails and say, no, you can't do this or you will die. Because that's what you did during COVID. I'm not talking about good COVID policy where you had to do social distancing. Okay, I'll buy some of that. They were roping off playgrounds. Remember the videos out in Venice Beach where they were filling in the skate parks?
Yeah, that was pretty, yeah.
They were closing off they were arresting people for going on the beach. They were closing off hiking trails. They roped off playgrounds. You just told kids for 2 years to stay home or you will die, and then you wonder why obesity rates are up because kids don't want to go outside. By the way, you also shut down the school systems for what we now know was not a very good reason because it could have been handled much better than just shutting down the schools for the better part of 2 years. I think that might have a whole lot more to do with it. I think mostly the problem with our kids are not the climate, it's their parents and it's their government.
So our parents are sort of falling down on the job and marching around with big guns to compensate for tiny penis. I mean, it's just a whack world.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's a tiny minority of extremists. Here's your problem with
but they're still affecting the same children that are probably in this boat, or at least there's going to be a Venn diagram that has this.
Maybe, but here's the kids are more resilient than we give them credit for too. But here's the problem: when you're dealing with something like the school system, where you just shut it down, you just told a whole generation of kids that they're cogs in a wheel. You don't think that's going to affect them?
Oh,
you
certainly.
Just told a whole generation of kids that hey, you can do all this crap from home. Why bother coming to school? You don't think that's going to affect? I can't wait here in 2 or 3 years. You watch what the online college enrollment does. I bet you it skyrockets because they're like, yeah, screw that. I ain't going. I can a fraction of the money and I can do it from home and work or do whatever my side hustle is. Let me do that instead. Screw this because you already inculcated it into them now. Kids are more resilient, but the problem is with the school system and with parents and like the extremist parents you're talking about. There's a tipping point where it's going to hit a tipping point And then you go into some really dark, ugly stuff. The problem with the school system is not about our kids. The school system is a giant jobs program.
Giant jobs program.
No,
with
I got 2 years. Go ahead and send me whatever you want. We got 2 years of COVID data. The teachers were more important than the students. That was the lesson from COVID. The teachers were more important than the students. The teachers have more political power. The teachers have more leeway and leverage, and they used it. And I don't blame them. If you got leverage, use it. Fine. But the school system is about the teachers. The school system is not about the children. We have empirical data now. Oh, they say it is for the funding, but the funding all goes to that new administration level. I can show you the chart where the administration level, it's not even going to the in-classroom teachers who I don't have a problem with. The administrative teachers who are making six figures and never seeing the inside of a classroom. That's the problem.
Yeah.
This is, you don't think that's affecting our children? You want to talk about affecting our children. You just told them they're cogs in a wheel, that they don't matter, that if they go outside, they're going to die. We just did this to an entire generation of children. What do you think they're going to think? Are they ever going to trust their government?
Or anybody in authority. And now with...
By the way, they also saw what you did to their parents, where they either wouldn't let them work or they made them work because they were in a required... I've told this story again. I'll keep telling it over and over again. The elementary school and high school and the school system my kids are in is across the street from a shopping center. So for 15 months, because we were closed from school for 15 months across 2 different school years, we never did the back and forth stuff. They just shut it down and left it down. So for 15 months, if kids went on the other side of the street, they were all going to die of a deadly illness. But the exact same group of people were congregating at the Harris Teeter and at the McDonald's and at everything else across the street. It was the same people in the same confined spaces every single day. You don't think they picked up on how dumb that is? Think about that. 300 yards across the road, if they go over there, they're all going to die. This is what we told them with our actions, not our words, with COVID. I understand it was an important disease. I had family members die of this. Just miss me with all that mess. Kids don't care about that. They care about their learned experience because that's how they learn. They learn more through experience than they do from what you ask any parent. Kids don't care what you say. They care how you act.
Do and understand. Right?
What did we teach? We told them this stupid thing where if you go across the street and you hang out with the exact same people in the exact same time of day, but if you do it over there, you're all going to die. But we're going to do it all over here. It's okay because this is essential.
And this is where we spend money.
You don't think they picked up on that? You don't think they picked up on that? Come on, man. Of course they picked up on that. The education system in America is a giant jobs program for teachers and for the federal government. That's what it is. And it occasionally does education. We need to wake up to that fact.
I would like to visit again the idea that currently we're having a teacher shortage of unprecedented levels, but the money is still there.
Legit.
Sorry?
Well, the money's going to the wrong places.
Right. That's what I'm saying, is that we have teachers that are just, they're fleeing in flocks and droves because they can make the same money or better doing something like Uber or making quilts on Etsy.
They're over credentializing teachers now. They've got it to where they're trying to make they're trying to require that every single teacher go gets a master's degree and a national certification. That takes years, and it's unnecessary
and a lot of money.
It's grossly unnecessary for an in-classroom teacher, especially at an elementary or middle school or even a high school.
And
level.
all the actual education is printed in the book. All you have to do is follow the book that was approved.
Do you know? Here's your one, because they're debating this thing about veteran teachers down in Florida.
Ooh.
Do you know what's required to be a substitute teacher in the state of North Carolina? Let me double check this because it might have changed since I went and got mine. Oh God, it was
a clean driving record and no arrests.
No, the educational requirement.
Oh, high school diploma or GED.
No, it's a little more than that.
Well, it can't be an associate's or master's degree.
Nope.
A certificate.
They just upped it. Okay, so I'm glad I looked it up because they've upped it since I did it years ago.
Okay.
So they have upped it a little bit. You ready for it?
You have to read and write English.
At least 18. Well, I don't know about that anymore. At least 18 years old and hold a high school diploma or a GED.
Okay, I got that.
And have 60 hours of college credit. Now, when I did mine, you only had to have 32.
Oh my goodness, I could be a substitute teacher.
But you have to have 60 college credit hours to be a substitute teacher.
And they don't even have to be in your subject. No license, no certs.
Nope.
That's handy. And if you've been
I would actually ask though, why do they need 60 college credit hours to be a substitute teacher?
I guess so that you have
That's a
some
pretty arbitrary
understanding
number.
of what it is to be diligent, right? Because the degree isn't necessarily that you know a subject; it's that you cross the I's and dotted the T's and whatever else, right?
Yeah, I mean, and for that you get about $100 a day.
Right. And I'm still,
I mean, 60. Here's the thing: 60 college credit hours. That's basically an associate's degree.
right.
Basically,
I got
All right.
2 of those.
so is somebody with an associate's degree going to want to go work for $100 a day in one of the really, really hard jobs to do? By the way,
I'd rather not.
because nobody cares and nobody wants to help you.
And you have to
they don't
spend
want
your
you
own
be
money
there.
to have the equipment you need necessary to do your job. And a lot of that was repealed or is no longer eligible for reimbursement or tax breaks. Right? Because you used to be able to hang on to your receipts and then use all that as what you paid for into the school.
Go to welding school for 2 years. You know how much money you're going to make?
Oh, 42 an hour.
$100 a day. You're making hundreds of dollars an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Forget a day.
I mean, the starting guys are 38 to 42. A friend of mine did that.
Training salary was, because my kid was looking into it, the training salary was like 28. I was like, shit.
And that's before you can lay a bead. Once you can lay a bead,
Hey.
your value goes straight up.
Hey, that's a skill set. Like, if go online and look up weld beads.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's an art form. Like, people that can do that well, they deserve every dime they get.
Oh, yeah.
I got a guy
Jim
I went to
Hoffman.
school with I got a guy that I went to school with. He does underwater. He's been an underwater welder for years.
Oh,
Lives down
that's
in the
wicked.
Bahamas.
Yeah.
He literally works like 3 or 4 months out of the year.
And that's it. That's all I need. Jim, a friend of mine who's an incredible sound engineer, guitar player, his day gig includes things like welding. And he has a whole group of people over there on a welding table that's using the electrical and the clamps and all that good stuff. And he'll walk up
The arc
and,
welding.
and he'll lay down a bead in no time that just looks picture perfect. And it's like, yeah, come on, guys, get it together. That's a skill set. I mean, the whole Mike Rowe movement, I think, needs to maintain its momentum to get kids to understand that working with your hands is not evil or ugly or...
Well, to loop this back where we started, because I got to get off here and you got to take a break. To loop it back where we started, you don't think those kids that were in lockdown all of a sudden were going, man, you think they're going to want... We just talked about this on the show. You think they're going to want to go work in an office environment?
It's certainly not for the political environment.
I think you're gonna see an explosion in trades and entrepreneurship and and by the way, you can make a pretty good living off your computer at home. You and me basically do that.
Oh yeah. There's a 17-year-old just designed an engine that can outpace electric cars right now.
Yeah, those kids they're figuring out how to be influencers. They're figuring out how to monetize their social media connections. That generation is already past whatever we're worried about them doing. So I'm not super worried about them. All right, I got a jet. Herdtel show was fantastic together. You do not want to miss it. Sean Bray from the Tax Foundation talking about not just our taxes, but the EU and UK's taxes. We've been covering the UK elections. We covered that CBS story that I just talked about. Also, a great segment at the end. Some Ukrainian kids that were doing a play when the war interrupted it. They brought them to New York. They're doing it at the Ironclad Theater in Brooklyn, which is actually pretty well known.
We also have Key Ballet coming to Wilmington. The Key City Ballet.
Ballet is one of those things where people, it's kind of like orchestra music. Like, if you've never been into it, you need to go in person one time before you knock it, because it's a completely different thing. Go check that out. Great. We got a stacked up week on Herdtel. I'm telling you, we got, by the way, new Herdtel podcast dropped over the weekend, long form. Our buddy Chris Schlock. He was at CPAC Dallas. Viktor Orban, Donald Trump's speech, that Brandon Straka MTG thing where they were in the cage. There's a whole backstory to that. That was actually a political attack on a sitting representative who was there. You have to listen to this to hear the details.
Oh, my God.
It took off. It did great numbers over the weekend. Make sure you check that out as well. Herdtel show. Really good stuff going. And today's show will be on Facebook as soon as you get around to having time to do it.
No, it's up. It's up. It's already up there. At least it better be.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I did my job.
Yeah, I was a few minutes late, but that was my fault.
I had coffee. I got it on time. I did the auto
upload to YouTube instead of downloading it and uploading it myself, so I had better control over it.
Oh no, it's fine. We got it. It was everything ran smooth this morning. It was wonderful.
I don't see it up there. You take a look when you get a chance. All right, I got to bounce.
I will. We're on break. Hey, you go have a great time. I will see you in a bit.
Thanks, buddy.
See you soon. And with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back right here on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. Don't go nowhere. It only gets better from here. We should have Paul Malone about 9:30. Right now, we're going to have WWAY let us know about the latest in our area. You're tuned in to the Big Talker Network, Wilmington, North Carolina's premier internet station for news and talk radio programming. Find us online at bigtalker.live.
Oh no, our roof is leaking and hurricane season is right around the corner. Don't let a leaky roof keep you up at night. Protect your home. Call Best Choice Roofing to schedule your free, yes, absolutely free roof inspection. Best Choice Roofing works with insurance or can repair the roof before the next storm, whether it's a full replacement or a repair. Choose the best. Call Best Choice Roofing at 910-228-5000 or go to bestchoiceroofing.com to book your appointment today.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to the program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
This week on All Things Brunswick, we're welcoming special guest Danny Ricciani to discuss being a gay conservative in today's environment and many other topics. All Things Brunswick, 6 p.m. Tuesdays, right here on the Big Talker Network.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. A Wilmington veteran who lost his brother in arms started a fundraiser that took him across the country, and after nearly 3 months, he's back home. The loss of Sergeant Christopher Cool was hard for those who knew him, including Perry Steed, who was on a mission to collect some of his ashes since 2012. Finances stopped him from making the trek to Minnesota. Anxiety and depression shared among veterans is their reality. Steed left in May, traveling 48 states, connecting with soldiers along his journey, leading him to not only Sergeant Cool's ashes, but also Specialist David Howard's to spread at the Sicily drop point at Fort Bragg. Steed's uncle, Randy James, escorted him back home from Greensboro on Sunday. In Pender County, crews continue to battle a wildfire in the Holly Shelter Gamelands. The fire is now at 43% containment. The Juniper Road 2 fire started on August 2nd from a lightning strike and covers more than 1,200 acres. Firefighters have more than the heat to contend with. The North Carolina Forest Service says more than 30 personnel on the ground are facing several challenges. Last week, the wind shifting direction due to weather patterns was an issue, and smoke is still a concern. A temporary flight restriction is in effect, preventing all civilian aircraft from flying within 5 miles of the wildfire. And after almost 40 years of polluted water in New Hanover County, a milestone has been reached to help filter toxins out of our drinking water. The Cape Fear Public Utility Authority says it's made significant progress in its project of granular activated carbon filters at the Sweeney Water Treatment Plant in Wilmington. They started that project 2 years ago. CFPUA Executive Director Ken Waldrop says with this new technology, pollutants such as PFASs will be nearly undetectable. The new carbon filters will be tested one at a time, and CFPUA hopes to start distributing the treated water by early fall. For more on these stories, you can head on over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Turning a bit unsettled as we head towards the evening hours today, but for most of the day, expecting sunshine and clouds, with clouds gradually increasing along with the humidity values as we head towards the late evening hours. That'll be our best chance to see a few downpours in the Cape Fear region. Outside of that, we're expecting temperatures to fall down to the upper 60s and the lower 70s overnight into early Tuesday morning. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
This week on All Things Brunswick, we're welcoming special guest Danny Ricciani to discuss being a gay conservative in today's environment and many other topics. All Things Brunswick, 6 p.m. Tuesdays, right here on the Big Talker Network.
I'm an HVAC technician, summer's most popular person. To say my job is stable is an understatement. Every home has an air conditioning and heating unit, so I will always be needed. The best part? I make great money in a career I love. I went to CFCC and got hands-on practical training and quickly got a job. Knowing I will always have a good-paying job means a lot to me. I got my start at CFCC and you can too. Make it happen. Make it CFCC. Visit cfcc.edu/HVAC and get started today.
We're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. Please visit the Big Talker website at bigtalker.live. Download the app for Android and iOS devices. Let's see, you can peruse our schedule of content. Once you have the app on your phone, there's all kinds of cool things you can do. You can go back and listen to all kind of shows, all the shows, doesn't matter. We got shows going all the way back to the 1700s. I'm kidding. I don't know how far back to go because I don't have that kind of patience. But that's my own, you do what you can with what you got. As you can tell. Whoops. Yeah, I guess I don't need him potted up in the middle of all this. But hey, what else do we have going on? Oh, send us an email with any comments, questions, compliments, critiques, or questions you may have. We can't improve without your help. And, we are actively looking for a morning host who's more politically aware and probably more grown up than I am. I'll probably, be older than they are, but, that's a matter of mind, obviously. Because a normal morning host would not give you the following story coming out of moneycontrol.com. Dying wishes are usually, they are usually, what's the word I'm looking for, honored, right? There's some sort of legacy, something important to the person living that they would like to carry on when they pass, like maybe your, favorite car should go to your favorite nephew or something, I don't know. All kind of ideas. This one does not seem to have an author to the article. But let's just start with the headline. This granny's dying wish was to have a 5.5-foot tall penis on her tombstone. And the family granted it. Meanwhile, the engineer who built the statue couldn't believe that the family was being serious when he received the order. At first, I thought it was a joke, Isidro Lavoignet said. I'm not going to pronounce his name right. Catarina Orduña Perez wasn't your average 99-year-old. This great-grandmother from Mexico had a fascination for all things penis, and as her dying wish, asked her family to make her a giant statue of a penis on her tombstone. The family yielded, and more than a year after her death, they finally unveiled the penis, all 5.5 feet of it, last week. She wanted to break the paradigm of everything Mexican where things are sometimes hidden because of not having an open mind. She was always very avant-garde, very forward-thinking about things, her grandson Alvaro Moto Limon told Vice. She always said that we were vergas. I'm not sure what the vergas... Vergas, a Mexican slang, can mean 3 different things. The usual English word that means, and an insult that means go do yourself, and or it could also mean you aren't worth anyway. And the third is actually a compliment, calling something cool depending on how it's phrased, the publication stated. It's the third way that Orduña Perez meant it, her grandson said. She wanted her family to know that they were all vergas and could do anything they set their mind to, he added, recalling that being a verga meant one should not give up. When problems arose, you needed to face them head on. Although the family knew that Orduña Perez wanted a penis statue on her tombstone for years, they didn't take her request seriously until she was on the dying bed. After she died, Mota Limon said that the family talked about it and decided to make her dream come true. Meanwhile, the engineer who built the statue couldn't believe that the family was being serious when he received the order. At first, I thought it was a joke, Isidro Lavoignet told Vice, because it's not very common to see these kinds of sculptures or monuments, and even less so in the memory of someone who's deceased. After it was unveiled on July 23rd, the statue caused a stir, something that Orduña Perez's family was prepared for. Of every 10 people, I think that around 7 see the statue positively. And if they don't see it as a good thing, they at least respect his grandmother's wishes, Motel Limon said. Crazy. But it's actual appropriate fodder for the big talker. Mainly because it's a penis story. Grandma wants a penis on her tombstone. Well, yeah, let her have it. Right? I mean, is it that big a deal? I mean, I wonder what kind of stir it caused. I mean, it had to be, I don't know, kind of crazy because and then the whole Georgia O'Keeffe story, right? It's just never ending as to where it begins, where it ends, and where it is that we have trouble understanding how. And to take that another step further, here in America, a story by Sin Mackley coming out of Scioto County DailyNews.com. Naked man spotted at Big Lots, arrested for the 69th time. Portsmouth police responded to a report of a man with no clothes on acting as if he was on drugs at the Big Lots on Gallia Street. Police responded to this scene and took an extremely troubled man with a long history of arrests into custody for the 69th time. This time, the charge was disorderly conduct. He'd been arrested 9 times in the past year, mostly for disorderly conduct and probation violation. Per the court, he was released after 1 day in jail. That's the rotating door that I think a lot of people are referring to. He's been arrested almost 70 times, right? And yet, 1 day, they just let him out. That's America right there. That's America. Here's another American that's of note. This should be fun. Coming out of KY3.com. KY3, the place to be in Springfield, Missouri. I'm guessing. Let's see. Do I have an author? No. KY3 staff. Wanted Miller County, Missouri business owner searching for zebra. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is not my friend at Baroque Ash Farms losing yet another horse to escapades. No. This is Miller County, Missouri. A Miller County business owner is searching for his escaped zebra. Joe McDevitt bought Marty the zebra 3 months ago. He says that the zebra has been on the run this week. I'm getting like little vibes of Tiger King here, right? Zebra King and the zebra ran away. I don't want to be here. McDermott believes construction work nearby apparently spooked him. Or the fact that you're beating him like secondhand Alpo. But anyway, finding him is a challenge. How can that be? Attempts to get close to the animal have been unsuccessful. I'm guessing finding him is the easy part. Getting close to him is what's been unsuccessful. Because I'm guessing, maybe it's just me, but there can't be a lot of zebras in Miller County, Missouri. But anyway, we started getting calls from people around the area in a couple of mile radius, said McDevitt. We were able to get one sleepy dart shot off, but it turns out he's pretty resilient. And according to the Missouri Department of Agriculture, owning a zebra is no different from owning a donkey. McDevitt says they have done everything needed to ensure their ownership is legal. Okay. Yeah, the fact that he owns the zebra properly, I guess, is one thing, but I think the zebra has another view of the situation, right? I think he's his own zebra. I think he is exercising his First, Second, and Third Amendment rights right there. Leave me alone. I am in pursuit of happiness. and I am entitled to life and liberty. So leave me the hell alone. Right? And but it can't be quite like a dog, because the donkey's going to have a little bit more stubbornness to it, maybe, right? If you're saying that it's no different than owning a donkey, you're trying to draw a parallel, I'll take that parallel and let you know that it's probably kind of aware of what's going on around it. Whereas you can abuse a dog and it'll never leave, much like, well, never mind, cult members. Right? You can abuse them to death, and all they do is remain more loyal. I think a donkey is going to be like, you smack me, I'm gone. You feed me garbage, I'm gone. There's a better life out there without you, right? I can walk around, because he can process cellulose. We can't, right? He can eat grass. He can eat corn. That's not a problem, right? So I think he's going to do just fine without us. Wandering around happily in the universe, or Miller County, Missouri, having a great time. And anybody who likes Halloween is in for a bit of a surprise. This one is not new news. But it is interesting to get CNN's take on it. It's coming from The Wire, because nobody, it's staff. Nobody wants to take credit for this one because it's just too unpopular. Hershey Chocolate says it won't be able to make enough candy to fully meet the Halloween deadline. The problem is that people started buying more sweets during the pandemic, and it hasn't slowed down. Also, the ongoing supply chain issues got worse because of the war in Ukraine. Hershey's CEO says they can either keep stores stocked with regular sweets or ramp up holiday production. Regular sweets won. As for next year, Hershey is adding more manufacturing lines, hoping for a comeback by next Halloween. Now, I don't know how much of that is. I think it's both sides of the pandemic. I mean, because think about it, there was less people to make the chocolates because, and unless chocolate somehow became magically essential, right? The manufacture of chocolate is more important than the meatpacking plants. I don't know. Of course, there was illness that swept through entire meatpacking plants, leveling the entire workforce. But, a lot of this doesn't make sense. But now Halloween's going to be a little bit different, right? Not as much Hershey chocolate, but a whole lot of candy corns and probably Bit-O-Honeys and all the crap that we wouldn't eat the 20 years previously that's still in your cupboard is going to be what's put out into the world. So, I don't know. To me, it just sounds like a buildup to let all the ants on the planet have a feast. Because this is, garbage food that nobody wants of their own. They're not going to eat a bit of honey. That thing went out in the 20s, right? Along with Werther's Originals, and you're just going to toss it out. And wherever you toss it, the ants are going to be like, oh. Italy? What? Italy? Come on. Insider.com. I don't want to do that. Let's see. Matthew Lowe, appreciate you taking credit for this, son. An Italian priest is under investigation for conducting mass in swim trunks and using an inflatable mattress as an altar. Italian authorities are investigating a priest who celebrated mass on the beach with an inflatable air mattress as an altar. Father Mattia Bernasconi from the San Luigi Gonzaga parish in Milan had been helping with a week-long camp for high school students organized by Libera, an anti-mafia organization, according to local media reports. They visited a beach near Crotone on Sunday where Bernasconi had planned to conduct mass among some nearby pine trees, per the Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera. However, they couldn't find a proper spot in the forest and were desperate to get some shade, Bernasconi said. Per the outlet, it was very hot, he said, according to Corriere della Sera newspaper. So we said to ourselves, why not in the water? There's a lot of water stories in the Bible, why not? A family heard us, gave us their air mattress, which we transformed into an altar. It was beautiful. Even if we got sunburned, he added, per the outlet. Photos soon emerged online of Berlusconi holding mass in his swim trunks with his arms outstretched over a floating air mattress in the sea. The act has prompted warnings from Catholic authorities and an investigation from the Crotone prosecutor's office. Really? A video of the incident shows a group of teenagers in swimsuits kneeling, squatting, or sitting in front of Berlusconi as they participated in the impromptu service. Responding to the incident, the Archdiocese of Crotone, Santa Severina, released a statement saying it was necessary to maintain the minimum decorum and care for the symbols necessitated by the very nature of the liturgical celebrations. I call foul. I call BS on this one. I'm going to elaborate later. Anyway, in some special cases during retreats, school camps, and vacation spots, it is possible to celebrate Mass outside of a church. However, it is always necessary to contact the ecclesial leaders of the place where you are to advise on the most appropriate way of carrying out a Eucharistic celebration of this kind. According to the Italian newspaper Il Giorno, Crotone's chief prosecutor Giuseppe Capoccia, sounds like a coffee, said his office had launched an investigation into an offense to a religious confession. What? Okay. Boy, this one's going to get me fired up for another 8 minutes. Berlusconi apologized for his actions in an interview with Corriere. I'm not going to get that right, Della Sella. They've spelled it 3 different ways now. So I don't even know what's real. It was spelled with an R, now it's spelled with a double L. It was absolutely not my intention to trivialize the Eucharist or use it for other messages of any kind, he said. I mean, being naked is kind of natural. Being naked around kids is kind of natural for a Catholic priest, so I don't know why everybody's getting all excited. He added that he believed the service was appropriate and respectful enough given the simplicity and the poverty of the means. When approached by Il Giorno, Berlusconi declined to comment further and said he wouldn't stand in the way of Capoccia's investigation. Okay, so whatever happened to whenever 2 or more of you are gathered in his name, huh? A little hypocrisy going on here? Let me guess. The real problem was there wasn't a collection plate. Let's get honest about this, right? It's not that you're upset that the guy was conducting Mass. The fact is, his Mass generated no money. That he didn't have all the trappings like the vestments and the gold stuff bling bling everywhere. That's what you're upset about. You're upset about the optics of it all. Because if you're in, as has been said by many people, if you're in contact with God, right, if you're having a spiritual moment, it doesn't matter if you're in the middle of the ocean, middle of the forest, or the middle of some, ostentatious gold dip ridiculous facility. I mean, man. Because the whole idea behind it was supposed to be that you don't have to worry about, God loves you wherever you are. You don't have to wear a suit to go to church. But all this seems to have gone out the window with this guy, right? He's doing what he can. He's in the middle of this thing, and it would be, I would think, remiss for him not to have some sort of service for these kids. That's what they're there for. Now, the fact that they didn't think all the way through and possibly put, an altar in the area or prepare for it, that's a totally different thing. But for what he did, we've done it. A number of youth organizations have had unorthodox services that are still being held in, I would say, spiritually honest tradition. But these guys have lost their mind. You can't hold a God service without God's gold. Is that what it is? You got to wear the dress. You got to put on the fancy hat. You can't represent God in your swim trunks. What? This is the type of stupidity that's, once we abandon religion for reason, the world will know peace. Not just this, but just look at what's happening in Afghanistan after we left, right? They were going to allow women to go to school. How did that work out? Now they're going to little, hidden private and bunker schools and then still getting slaughtered just because they want to learn how to read, just because they want to be able to read. And that was just the beginning of it. But we don't teach them to read. We don't allow them to vote. That's a progressive way of running a country. And of course, this is a theocratic country. And there have been calls in this country to, make this a Christian nation, in which case there is supposed to be no creation of an official religion in this country, but they're calling for it, which is kind of confusing. I don't understand it. And that's why I'm saying, look, the sooner we abandon religion for reason in our policies, in our government, in our oversight, the sooner we will know peace. Because if you're voting against someone because of their religion, this is committing the type of foul that we are trying to fight against by separating church and state. Just because someone is of a religion different than yours does not negate that their contribution to society is just as valid as your own. That's the part that's just completely insulting in the entire process. I don't understand it. I'm not going to pretend to, but I am going to continue to rail against the silliness of it, because it is absolutely mind-boggling that we have these types of concerns when entire civilian blocks are being blown up in Ukraine, and we don't seem to be that upset about it, right? I mean, Russian war crimes are something that we definitely know are happening, but nobody's doing anything about it. Not that we can, because that would make it look like we're going to war. There's just so much about this that's completely screwed up. And now the kids are growing up in the shadow of this. Right? 6-year-old, 10-year-old, 14-year-old kids watching their parents marching around with full-on, fully loaded, silly-ass weapons out in the open at an FBI trying to, what message are we sending? That we want our next generation to be more anarchists than we are ourselves? That we're just going to turn this into a massive mob rules type of environment? Is that the message we're sending? Is that what we're going to teach our next generation by the example of what the parents are doing? Because again, they're watching, they're paying attention, they see this. They hear what you're saying. And that's how we end up with problem children, right? Because we've noticed a number of times that one of the school shooter's parents were the ones that got him the gun, and we're just like, supporting him in his psychopathy every step of the way. So you're creating entire family units of this nature. And we're not at any point having the responsible response from leaders, all of them, red, blue, green, purple, hippopotamus, doesn't matter, to say, look, guys, not your lane. Let it play out. If you want to redress grievances, let's use appropriate channels that are far less violent, far less optically poisonous to the next generation. Because I don't think the kids should be inspired by their parents. Hey, Dad, what are you doing today? I'm going to march around the FBI with a fully loaded weapon. Several fully loaded weapons. And I'm going to wear body armor in case the FBI wants to kill me. I'll kill them first. It's a civil war. Dad, it's not a civil war. It's called a search warrant. If the parents are going to have to start educating the kids, then the master has exceeded the student, or the student has exceeded the master, sorry. And maybe we need to pay attention to that. Because obviously we're screwing this up pretty good. I mean, all the adults that are popping off, right? Obviously we're not doing this very well. Maybe we let the kids kind of figure this out. They're doing better than we are in a lot of other ways. In fact, I don't think any of the kids in Italy on the beach there were upset about having a mass on the beach in the water, right? Using an air mattress as a, what other improvisations are the Catholic Church reticent to accept when trying to please their God, when trying to worship their God? Should they have just said, you know what, screw it, God's not that important. We're not going to give thanks today. Yeah, the Eucharist can wait because I don't have my gold suit. Is that how it works? If that were true, then how are these tent revivals still happening, right? I mean, the hypocrisy of the entire thing. Now, The Catholic Church, the SBC, are both under fire for all kinds of pedophilia and child stuff. And yet you're going to call it out for these guys right out there in the open. Everybody. You got pictures of it. You can see that the man was just conducting mass, standing up, beat in his water, having fun, doing his thing. Anyway. Unbelievable. So with that in mind, yeah, we're going to do more when we come back, because we're going to have Mr. Paul Vallone of Guns, Politics, and Freedom, who's going to join us right after the break. Please don't go nowhere. The Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. A Wilmington veteran who lost his brother in arms started a fundraiser that took him across the country, and after nearly 3 months, he's back home. The loss of Sergeant Christopher Cool was hard for those who knew him, including Perry Steed, who was on a mission to collect some of his ashes since 2012. Finances stopped him from making the trek to Minnesota. Anxiety and depression shared among veterans is their reality. Steed left in May, traveling 48 states, connecting with soldiers along his journey, leading him to not only Sergeant Cool's ashes, but also Specialist David Howard's to spread at the Sicily drop point at Fort Bragg. Steed's uncle, Randy James, escorted him back home from Greensboro on Sunday. In Pender County, crews continue to battle a wildfire in the Holly Shelter Gamelands. The fire is now at 43% containment. The Juniper Road 2 fire started on August 2nd from a lightning strike and covers more than 1,200 acres. Firefighters have more than the heat to contend with. The North Carolina Forest Service says more than 30 personnel on the ground are facing several challenges. Last week, the wind shifting direction due to weather patterns was an issue, and smoke is still a concern. A temporary flight restriction is in effect, preventing all civilian aircraft from flying within 5 miles of the wildfire. And after almost 40 years of polluted water in New Hanover County, a milestone has been reached to help filter toxins out of our drinking water. The Cape Fear Public Utility Authority says it's made significant progress in its project of granular activated carbon filters at the Sweeney Water Treatment Plant in Wilmington. They started that project 2 years ago. CFPUA Executive Director Ken Waldrop says with this new technology, pollutants such as PFASs will be nearly undetectable. The new carbon filters will be tested one at a time, and CFPUA hopes to start distributing the treated water by early fall. For more on these stories, you can head on over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Turning a bit unsettled as we head towards the evening hours today, but for most of the day, expecting sunshine and clouds, with clouds gradually increasing along with the humidity values as we head towards the late evening hours. That'll be our best chance to see a few downpours in the Cape Fear region. Outside of that, we're expecting temperatures to fall down to the upper 60s and the lower 70s overnight into early Tuesday morning. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.
This week on All Things Brunswick, we're welcoming special guest Danny Ricciani to discuss being a gay conservative in today's environment and many other topics. All Things Brunswick, 6 p.m. Tuesdays, right here on the Big Talker Network.
about the warrant. Okay?
Right, but you
They
can challenge
lie
that,
about
but
the
at least the
terms.
process happened, and there was an opportunity to...
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, we're already live. So, let's continue this discussion. Look, I'm going to just do this. This is fun. Welcome back to the Asylum. We're here on the Big Talker Network, the Nut House Refuge in a World Gone Mad. My guest, Paul Vallone, a wonderful man to work with, politically active in a number of ways, and having a great discussion about the insanity of what's happened in the last week or so. Now, the search warrant itself, obviously, has come under question in a lot of ways. However, as we've had on Heard Tell earlier this morning, the discussion, or actually was it last week, discussing the legitimacy of the warrant is independent of drawing a line between the Germans and the FBI. Do you agree?
Let me back up a little bit. Let's move back and start from
Fair
something
enough.
earlier. You will recall that last Monday, I referred to leaked documents obtained by Project Veritas that classified anybody who used the phrase 2A for the Second Amendment or displayed the Gadsden flag or the Betsy Ross flag, all of which are standard American symbols, okay? Anybody who displayed one of these things was, in the eyes of the FBI, militia violent extremist. All right. This is the about the third or fourth attempt to classify mainstream Americans as terrorists. First, there was the domestic violent extremists nonsense. Then they called parents domestic terrorists because they objected to the indoctrination of their children, and it continues to move on from there. All right. So last weekend, okay, you can agree with me or you can disagree with me, but I said this is our new Gestapo. Okay. Now we can talk about due process of law later. But the point was, on Monday, they proved me right, okay, unfortunately. All right, they proved me right because what we now have is unequal application of the law to some people and as opposed to others, okay?
How so?
Because when they served that warrant on Donald Trump, they were doing something they had not done in any number of previous cases, including and particularly Hillary Clinton and her emails where James Comey said all the reasons that she should be prosecuted but wasn't going to be, despite the fact that, unlike Donald Trump, she wiped her server clean and she wiped cell phones clean, too. And what's worse, okay, she put those emails, that classified information, in a place where the Russians actually did get a hold of it. You remember Jucifer? Okay, they hacked that stuff. And as a matter of fact, when Donald Trump made reference to it and joked about Jucifer, you've never heard that.
Nope.
Okay. Oh, no,
that's why I shouldn't be a morning host.
Now, the Russians hacked it. The hacker was named Jucifer. He actually revealed parts of the leaked, the hacked information. And that's why Donald Trump, when he was running for office, joked about maybe the Russians can come up with 30,000 emails that from Hillary Clinton's server. And what did they do? They turned it around and tried to claim Donald Trump was the one calling for the Russians to hack Hillary Clinton, when in fact they'd already done so. We are now looking at a two-tier justice system in which you and I don't matter. The FBI is becoming increasingly politicized. You can dispute my use of the word Gestapo if you like, but the fact is, it is now a political instrument being used against mainstream Americans.
Okay, I won't argue that there has been politicizing of various aspects of the Department of Justice. I will say that, and it has been happening for probably 20, 30 years. It probably going back to I would say it goes back to Watergate.
No, I've just never seen weaponization of the justice system until about 1994, 95, when Bill Clinton started making basically because he realized posse comitatus prohibited him from using the military for law enforcement. So instead, he started militarizing law enforcement. Do you know that when I was a professional airline pilot during the 1990s, okay, I was a captain, so we used to get firearms boarding passes from various federal agencies. The one I kept as a souvenir was a firearms boarding pass from a guy representing the Department of Education. Okay? And now that we passed the so-called misnamed Inflation Reduction Act, okay, that funds 87,000 new IRS auditors, guess what? The the IRS just put out a job notice. Hang on, let me find this little sucker here if I can.
Oh, I think I've seen it, where you have to be willing to kill.
Yeah, you have to be willing to be armed and use deadly force. This is for IRS auditors. We're going to now arm 87,000 IRS auditors.
Which brings up a lot of memories of the revenuers of the 40s, 30s, 20s, right? Because they weren't mad that they were making illegal booze. They were mad that the illegal booze was not paying its taxes.
Correct. Ultimately, that led to the creation of the Bureau of, unfortunately, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms.
Which is the most bizarre combination.
Yeah, well, you would have to understand how that came to be. You understand that until the 1960s, okay, Congress still understood something. Congress still understood that it didn't have the power under Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution to regulate guns. All right. Now, back in 1934, they decided they had a problem with machine guns and short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and sound suppressors or silencers, if you will. And they were casting about what can we do about this. Well, they at that point said, we can't regulate it because we don't have the federal power under enumerated powers, but we can tax it. So what they did is they put a $200 tax stamp on the transfer of each one of those firearms. And, of course, $200 in that day was a princely sum, was probably equal to what most people earned in a year. Okay, so
and certainly more than the cost of the weapon.
By far. Probably a Thompson submachine gun was probably going for about $15 at that point in time. So that's actually not a joke. In any case, the revenuers now got involved with firearms, and when it became the Bureau of Alcohol, it became the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms originally. Later on, they added BATFE and added explosives into the deal as well. But the ATF at that point in time got into the firearms game because of the National Firearms Act of 1934. So that's how that came to be. Now, you could argue maybe at that point that they were beginning to militarize federal law enforcement, or maybe you could argue at the beginning of the FBI. I mean, the FBI has been dirty from day one. All right, when J. Edgar Hoover died, the cross-dressing, closet queen named J. Edgar Hoover, they unearthed and destroyed all the files he had on other people. Okay, this is an agency that in the 1960s used to spy on Martin Luther King. Okay, so nobody can convince me that the FBI is in any way, shape, or form laudable at this point in time. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't good federal agents doing good work. To a certain extent, matter of fact, to a major extent, they prevented another major act of terrorism in the United States, and I would credit the FBI with that. But, okay, the upper levels of the FBI, Christopher Wray, people like him, they're nothing but political animals, and they have every intention of using
how did Wray
the
FBI
get into
place?
other federal agents and other federal agencies using the FBI to squash mainstream Americans. They are now under Merrick Garland, who is perhaps the most partisan attorney general we've ever had. Okay, and thank God he didn't get a Supreme Court seat. You can thank Mitch McConnell for that, because Barack Obama wanted to appoint this guy to the Supreme Court, this narrow partisan who doesn't give a damn about the law. I don't want to get off on a rant here, but
not at all. I mean, that's why we're here. And this is part and parcel of the serious nature of the Saturday morning premieres of Guns, Politics, and Freedom that reruns at, I believe, 11 through the week, 11 a.m. Yes?
Yes, indeed, 11 a.m. And I think you got it on Sunday at 5, don't you? I could be wrong.
It's all over the place, and it's available on the app anytime you want. That's even cooler. So anytime you want to go back and listen to some of the programs where Paul is talking about the candidates or some of the policies, or in fact some of the activities involving the Second Amendment and personal rights, it's definitely going to be part of that. Part of that programming.
As part of my shameless self-promotion, I will also note that I've now started a blog from the website of my book. The book, of course, is Rules for Anti-Radicals, a practical handbook for defeating leftism. And the website for that is rulesforantiradicals.com, rulesforantiradicals.com. Under resources, they can sign up for my blog. And I routinely rant things like this. As a matter of fact, my latest blog was a matter of, because I presumed that the guy last week who went into the FBI headquarters with an AR-15 and a nail gun, I presumed he was responding to this. You bring up the guys that were marching armed in Phoenix opposite the FBI agency in Phoenix last weekend. All right. Now, what we're going to see here, and this is my prediction, we're going to see the left screaming bloody murder about how we need to ban AR-15s because those nasty old domestic violent extremists or militia violent extremists or whatever they want to call us today, whatever they want to call mainstream Americans today, okay, that these people are dangerous, okay? You know what I got to say to them? We didn't start that party, okay? Antifa and BLM spent a year burning down cities, looting, rioting, arson, murder, okay? Now, I'm not advocating violence, but I'm going to tell you something. You can only poke the bear so many times before the bear wakes up and eats you. All right, and so if anybody wants me to apologize for violence from the right, I can only say I do not advocate violence on any side, but the left started this party.
But I don't know if drawing a direct line, because this is the one I still want to push back on, drawing a straight line between the Gestapo and the FBI.
That's a technicality.
Still not entirely fair.
Fine. You need a warrant now. Okay. So now what we do is we've added an extra layer of bureaucracy where, and this is exactly
but that's oversight and accountability.
During the Russiagate, well, there is no accountability for FISA warrants. Okay.
It still has to be.
Surveillance Act is a secret star chamber proceeding under which, if it weren't for the fact that it turned out that the Russiagate crap was such a hoax, okay, we might never have known that the FBI actually falsified emails and falsified documents.
But that doesn't affect this particular event.
To get a FISA warrant issued against a running candidate for the presidency of the United States under false pretenses, under nonsense, Russian disinformation. The funny part is that the Democrats accuse us of Russian disinformation when they themselves are the ones perpetuating Russian disinformation, namely the Steele dossier. So, no, I'm sorry. The difference is, on a warrant and due process is nothing more than a technicality. And quite frankly,
it's a technicality they did not have in Germany at the time. They just came in, kicked in the door, shot you, and took what they wanted. There was no. At least we have a paper trail. At least we have something that we can look at and say, all right, this is the warrant, this is the affidavit, this is, the receipt. TK? So the process is there. So we can, I don't think this, I would like to remove the German.
When this process gets further eroded and now it becomes a rubber stamp and they do actually just crash indoors, okay, sometime in the future, you come back and tell me that again, okay?
Okay. But right now, I'm just trying to slow some of it down.
Without a difference. It could ultimately become a distinction without a difference.
And we will have fully moved into an Orwellian future.
We're about halfway there now.
Okay, and now Orwell's book was written in response to what had happened in the 40s, correct?
Well, actually, it wasn't even a response to what happened in Nazi Germany. That was actually the extension of English socialism, Ingsoc. Okay, that was what he was projecting was the future of British society. And, I don't know if you've traveled in Britain, but I have rather extensively. And boy, he had it right. There's a camera everywhere. They are the most controlled. Britain is a police state now.
They are the second most surveilled country.
Next to who? The Chinese?
Mm-hmm. That's one. Yep. Now, this report, or I should say the story that I get that from is like 2-3 years old now. So that may have changed. But at the time, they were one of the most surveilled public space states.
Oh, I remember back in the 90s when they made the point of putting in CCTV all through Britain. No, I travel there. I see what they do. They can detain you without a warrant in Britain right now under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Okay, I have seen what they do in airport security. I mean, it is positively draconian. They practically strip search airline crews, for crying out loud. I mean, this is ridiculous. What I have seen their COVID lockdown. You think we had it bad in the United States? Oh, you should have seen what Britain looked like during the COVID lockdown. And it lasted a whole lot longer than anything that we would have envisioned.
I'm guessing Soho was deserted.
Didn't go to Soho. Matter of fact, during the COVID pandemic, I wasn't allowed out of my hotel room most of the time.
Wow.
Okay.
That sounds like Bill when he went to Canada, or got stuck in Canada when he tested positive, and they had him locked in a hotel room for 6 or 7 days.
Well, I'm sure of that. I have no doubt about that. The Chinese are notorious for this, too. They do it in the cruise in Hong Kong. Even now, you're not allowed to leave the hotel room when the cruise overnight in Hong Kong and in China, for that matter. But in any case, once again, I'm going to tell you that right now, when we can lie and produce, and I opposed, and this was a product, admittedly, of the Bush administration after 9/11. The process, the FISA process, to get secret star chamber proceedings, to get secret warrants against people supposedly in the interest of preventing terrorism. But now we see exactly how that FISA system is being abused. All right, the Trump administration, the investigation of Donald Trump on fallacious charges of colluding with the Russians is exactly the example of why we shouldn't have a star chamber proceeding, a secret proceeding, and a FISA warrant system. And so it's only going to get worse from here. If this administration gets its way, 87,000 armed IRS agents, at your doorstep. I can't imagine what that's going to look like.
Oh, that's going to be fun, yeah, because all the people that are struggling to make it day to day are the ones that are going to get guns shoved in their nose and extorted for money, while the people who have been making money hand over fist, grifting and living off of PACs. Right, because they can use PAC money to buy, have dinner with friends or to travel to some place and have a rally. So it's not like they're spending their own money, but they're going to come after the people like you and me that are, busting, well, even the people that aren't like you and me that are, working even worse jobs than the ones I have trying to make ends meet.
And you said something interesting before, maybe it was during when we got on the show, I don't know. But anyways, you said something interesting that, politicians, if anybody who runs for office, we all lock them all up.
Yeah.
Okay? Well,
if you want to be in office, you are ineligible.
Well, okay. I'm going to tell you.
They should be nominated by somebody, right? There's 330 million people.
Yeah. I do know lots of people, okay, because I deal with politicians all the time in the North Carolina General Assembly and in Congress. And I see legislators, I won't call them politicians, who are honorable, who will never make it very far in politics precisely because they are honorable. People like Representative Larry Pittman of Cabarrus County, who just elected not to run again this year because, quite frankly, he's had enough. He's an honest conservative. He's an honest religious conservative, very anti-abortion, very, pro-gun. He's a great guy, but his bills never moved very far. And as a matter of fact, they never moved at all in the North Carolina General Assembly, precisely because he was honorable and precisely because he tried to advocate doing the right thing. And leadership is corrupt. Leadership of any party at any time is corrupt. I will grant you that, because in order to get to a position of leadership, they have to make deals, and the deals they make are generally deals with the devil and generally involve sale of some part of their soul. All right, so I agree with you. Normally, what I tell people is, I know a lot of good people that decided to run for office. Okay, Patrick McHenry back in the day was a good guy, and the 10th congressional representative. I'm not saying he doesn't do some decent work right now, but he's taken a lot of money from a lot of different causes, and I generally say that when a legislator gets elected, you get one, maybe two good terms out of them before being called the honorable and having their doors open for them everywhere they go starts going to their head, and it's all down the tubes from there. I mean, Lindsey Graham, when he was in the United States House, was a pretty good legislator. He was the House impeachment manager for Bill Clinton. All right, then he ran for the United States Senate, and he became a United States Senator, and from that point, it was all downhill.
Okay. Now, in regard to some of this, when having representatives be more outlandish and more about their personality, their TikTok, their social media presence, they become less interested or less invested in their country and more invested in their own ego and their own personality. And I'm looking at cats like, well, thank God he's gone. You know, Cawthorn was a very performative, outlandish, ineffective type of legislator.
And you know what? Cawthorn went to the dark side way too early.
Yeah.
You don't do that as a freshman. I'm sorry. But, you know, like I said, you could take about 1 or 2 terms. It took him about 2 weeks, all right, to go to the dark side. And it's sad because he had, he had potential.
Now, is there what can we do to prevent that? How can we encourage more honorable work and less of this outlandish BS and trying to get attention and look at me? Because the whole idea behind being a legislator is being a support to the United States, not being a me first person.
Well, I'll tell you something. I've been talking to a gentleman out of New Hampshire. This will never happen in Congress, but do you realize the New Hampshire state legislature has hundreds of representatives, okay, not just a few. And you know what they get paid? $100 a year.
That's it. Which is effective. I think that's legit, man. Right? I mean, think about it. Why is the president giving a salary at all?
They have no staff. They do everything themselves, okay? And so what they
have to read their own bills. They have to do their own writing and proofreading. That's legit.
Yep. And it's pretty funny because that truly is a citizen legislature.
Right.
But
that's
I have
public
no illusions
service.
that will ever happen in Congress.
No.
I'm not.
There's too much money involved. That's why there will never be a single bill ever again. Every bill has to have 5 or 6 other elements in it to get other people to agree to your bill. If you put my bill in your bill, then we can both run your bill through.
See, unfortunately, in state legislatures, including North Carolina, in order to add something to a bill, it must be germane. It must be somehow relevant to the topic of the bill. And unfortunately, in Congress, that rule does not exist. And so that's why you get all this stuff loaded onto bills, and you get 500, 600-page bills, and Nancy Pelosi's going, we have to pass this so we could see what's in it.
Because we don't have time to read it before it's time to vote on it. I mean, a lot of that is so upside down and backwards that I'm thinking that if kids, students over the last 40 years had actually had a civics course that involved the process of the legislature, the House, the Senate, we would have less stupidity in the legislature today.
Understand something. I have told you this before on this show, okay? We are being subjected to a multi-generational effort to take over our cultural institutions, our media, and our schools. It was begun by the Frankfurt School and its Institute for Social Research in the 1920s. It came to Columbia University as critical theory in 1937, and it became critical race theory. The bottom line is that these Marxists, literally Marxists, have been working to take over our educational system for generations now. And so when you see critical race theory, no, that stuff started, it isn't new. It started back in the 1980s, and its progenitor was critical theory back in as far as the 1930s. So the effort, to undermine civics in curricula for students is not an accident, okay?
Because it's only being taught at the private schools, right? Like at the grooming schools for politicians.
At this point in time, I'm not even sure the private schools are doing any better than public schools are. I got news for you, okay? I am the product of a high-end Northeastern liberal arts education, which, by the way, I take great joy in using against them at every opportunity. And they really hate that. But the bottom line is that I went to Hamilton College. I graduated in 1980. And what we were told at that point in time is we're not here to teach you facts. We're here to teach you how to think, how to critically evaluate. Now, contrast that with Hamilton College today. A few years back, they wanted to have Angela Davis as the commencement speaker. Okay? Angela Davis, Weather Underground terrorist. Okay? Or Black Panther, was she a terrorist? I forget. Convicted terrorist, any way you look at it. And so at this point, the private schools are doing indoctrination of kids, okay, with basically Marxist doctrine just as much as public schools are at this point. I don't really think there's much of a difference. And the reason is that all these 60s leftists are now in positions of power in the educational system, in some cases in city governments, which of course is precisely why, the governments of Portland, Oregon, and Seattle were quite happy to let Antifa burn and riot for a summer. It's going to be the summer of love in Seattle. Yeah, well, how'd that work out? All right. So that's what we see now. We have seen these people, and I'm not saying this is a grand conspiracy theory, okay? As I often say, one of my founding board members, who, by the way, is now in the North Carolina General Assembly, said way back in the 90s, and I quote, "You don't have to be a member of the choir to sing from the same piece of sheet music." In other words, it isn't a conspiracy if you all just adopt the same idea, the same mindset, if you're taught the same way. Okay, it's not a conspiracy. It's a tendency of those people to perpetuate their mode of thinking, and their mode of thinking is that the destruction of American society is necessary in order to create the great socialist utopia they envision.
And this is why we have Gun to Politics and Freedom premiering right here on the Big Talker Network and running throughout the week. I need to look at my schedule again to remember the premiere date, but it all happened right here on the Big Talker Network.
Someday I'm gonna make you crib notes to remember that.
I do have a blank wall in front of me that is ripe for some Post-it notes, so I think I'm going to go get myself a rainbow pack so that I can be all-inclusive and have my little rainbow pack of Post-it notes so that I can have accurate information and say that Paul's show lands on a certain day, but I do know that it'll run at 11 o'clock.
I will note there, my wife and I were saying the other day, I am very surprised that so far none of the manufacturers have come up with an electric vehicle that is rainbow colored.
Well, they do have that prism paint that changes color depending on what light you're looking at. So that's pretty close, because that's, depending on your own rose-tinted glasses, changes the color of the car. So that's a start. That's a start. Okay.
All right.
Much better.
Remember this. Before I leave here, distinction without a difference. Got it?
I'll work on that. I still need to look up in the dictionary a few of the other words that I'm not used to yet, so we'll start there. Because my ignorance is all-inclusive. There is no boundary to it, so. Well, thanks so much for your time, Paul. I look forward to your show this weekend. And for the rest of us, it's time to go on to Consumer Choice Radio that will lead into Gun Politics and Freedom. That will lead into Living Fit After 50. See, I'm still learning all this myself. And during all this, you can go to the website at bigtalker.live, download the app for Android iOS device, as well as peruse the schedule of contents so that you will have the more accurate information than I do about when Paul's show premieres. In which case, that will be a quiz show. The person who answers it correctly tomorrow morning will win a stacking washer and dryer. Just get it the hell out of my garage. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. You're tuned in to the Big Talker Network, Wilmington, North Carolina's premier internet station for news and talk radio programming. Find us online at bigtalker.live.